Tuesday, October 19th, 2021, 7 p.m. board meeting, our first live in-person board meeting in 20 months. Okay, with this, I will call the meeting to order, and I would ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Kowal.
Present.
Clerk Noble, present. Treasurer Roman.
Present. White Lake.
Well, we don't have to say that anymore.
Trustee Ruggles.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Here.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
And Trustee Powell is excused.
Okay, that being said, I am going to make an addition to the agenda. It will include item 6G, which is the treasurer's report. Looking for approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda with the addition of 6G.
I have a motion, 6G added. Looking for support? Support. I have support from Mr. Ruggles. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Item number 5, public comment. At this time, if you have anything that you would like to say, you'll be given 3 minutes to state what it is. And we just ask that you be very clear on your name for the record, for the recorder. So at this time, anyone interested in speaking? Mr. Sprader.
Thank you very much. Can I stand up here?
You certainly may.
Thank you. Sprader, 10217 Lakeside Drive, White Lake, Michigan. I'd like to thank the board and thank everybody for helping us out on our project with the bar. I'm a terrible public speaker, so bear with me. You guys have went over and above, and it really, I really appreciate it. So, and poor Sean, I've tortured him the last 3 weeks. Every morning I'm at the township.
Torture. It was friendly torture.
Well, it was friendly, but it was still torture. And, I think it went great, and I really appreciate it. And we would like to have a party for the police, fire, and the township. If you guys want to talk amongst yourself.
That could be a bribe.
No, you know what? It's after the fact, so there's no bribe.
Okay, we're just checking.
Okay.
I'll have to check with council.
A fun party just to say thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And, it went great. And also, Nick Spencer was great to work with. Okay, so if you'd pass that along too.
Good to hear. Thank you.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
really appreciate everything. Okay?
Yeah, thank
Thank you very much. Have a great night. We can't stay.
You're very welcome, and you got your waiver.
Anthony even called me Friday night to see if I needed any help, so I really appreciate that too. But everybody's been fantastic, and I've been torturing Lisa Hamami too, through Sean. So,
Great.
but
Glad we
and
could help out.
Mike, I called him at home Friday, so, but I just really appreciate it, and I'm very glad you're feeling better, Rick.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So, thanks everybody
Good luck
so
with it,
much.
guys.
You need anything at all, let us know.
Good luck.
You want a key for after the meeting, go have some fun.
That's our auxiliary boardroom.
There you go. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Sean.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, anyone else for public comment at this time? Seeing no one else in public comment, I will close public comment. Moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda is lists of revenue expenses, check disbursements, budget amendments, departmental reports, and of course, the treasurer's report, which we added, which is 6G. Looking for a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Looking for support? Support. I have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Consent agenda passes. Thank you very much. Since we bulked our meetings up in the Zoom meetings, I'm going to continue that format here. We have 4 groups of meetings. Approval of the meetings of the regular board meeting of August 17th, August 26th, September 9th, and September 21st. I am looking for a motion to approve and/or amend the minutes as submitted. Any
Motion to
comment?
approve all those minutes that you just mentioned.
Motion to approve minutes.
And I'll
Looking for
support those.
I have support from Andrew Voorhees. Motion, support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Presentation, Chief, you're going to talk to us about Common Ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. That was really quick. I appreciate that. God bless Mr. Powell for being on vacation. So that's a good thing. Don't tell him I said that. Before we get started with the Common Ground, I want to talk about No Shave November. It is our annual event that we do. We started early so we could raise a little bit more money, and we use that money for our adopted family. And it's usually a family in need that has some sort of special circumstance. Last year, it was a grandmother and grandfather that was raising their 4 kids or 4 grandchildren. The year before that, it was a child with cancer. This year, there was a 9-year-old that really found us. He was mauled by 2 dogs last Thursday. And he went through 6 hours of plastic surgery, and he was released on Sunday. And Sean Keitel and I got to see him today, and it was pretty devastating. And I'm really proud of him for being as strong as he is. So what I'm here to ask is for you or for anybody listening to give a little money to the White Lake Police Foundation so we can give this family the Christmas and that boy the Christmas he deserves, because he's going through a lot. On to the next one, I want to introduce Sergeant Jeff Way. A little bit about Sergeant Way. He took the lieutenant's exam, and he finished number 1. So he will be promoted to lieutenant sometime next year when we fill the lower ranks. I usually promote after we fill those. So I'm going to introduce Sergeant Jeff Way to talk about Common Ground.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Sergeant Jeff Way. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you this evening about our mental health related collaborative program your White Lake Township Police Department has implemented to better serve the citizens of White Lake Township. Our department vision statement reads, "It is the vision of the White Lake Township Police Department to set the standard in Oakland County as a community service-oriented agency, using a professional, proactive approach to crime and quality of life issues, to strive to constantly better ourselves and continually gain further trust and respect from the community through training, transparency, and partnerships with the stakeholders of the township, to be accountable for our actions and decisions at all levels to those we are sworn to serve, to be on the cutting edge of training in order to ensure that the best police service possible is provided to anyone having contact or needing assistance with the police department. Following these standards and objectives, and under the direction of Chief Dan Keller, the White Lake Township Police Department has entered into a collaborative agreement with Common Ground of Oakland County. The purpose of this collaboration is to give members of the White Lake Township Police Department access to a much-needed resource that will greatly benefit the citizens of White Lake. As police officers, we often find ourselves responding to mental health crisis situations that are not crimes. It is not unusual for us to be called multiple times to the same household for substance abuse or other mental health issues that are not criminal in nature and that are not being resolved on their own by those involved. The White Lake Township Police Department is not a large department, so we're limited in the resources we can provide to people that are experiencing a mental health crisis. In late 2019, we recognized that the increase and frequency of police dispatch calls for service related to White Lake Township residents currently experiencing a mental health crisis was in desperate need of further attention and a more direct problem-solving approach. This increase in the calls for service your police department responds to related to mental health issues, as well as nationally publicized police citizen incidents, demonstrated the severe need for a new direction in policing those in need. According to an article published by NPR in 2020, it is estimated that at least 20% of police calls for service involve a mental health or substance abuse crisis. Also, in a nationwide survey of more than 2,400 senior law enforcement officials conducted by the Naval Postgraduate School, around 84% of senior law enforcement officials said mental health-related calls have increased in their careers, and 63% said the amount of time their department spends on mental illness calls has also increased. More than half of those surveyed reported the increased time is due to an inability to refer people to needed treatment. Additionally, the American Psychological Association recognizes that referring individuals to the appropriate mental health resources and following up on progress takes time and resources that already strained police, especially those from smaller departments, don't always have. For a better perspective, in the year between June 2019 and June 2020, the White Lake Township Police Department responded to 9 attempted suicides, 218 family trouble complaints, 68 mental health-related calls, 20 narcotic overdose situations in which we administered Narcan. We also conducted 563 welfare checks on individuals, some of whom were in crisis, and we investigated 3 drug overdose deaths. During the calendar year of 2019, the White Lake Township Police Department responded to 1,024 verified offenses that are related to personal or family crisis, such as mental health calls for service, welfare checks, and/or domestic violence. That's over 2 dispatch calls for service every day, potentially related to an individual's personal crisis. Each of these incidents in which police officers are responding increases the risk and likelihood of a violent police encounter with a person in crisis. Due to the increased incidents involving mental health crisis and their inherent danger to police and our residents, we decided to reach out to local mental health experts. We recognize that the typical law enforcement response is not always the best course of action for those experiencing a mental health crisis, and because we are limited in available resources due to the size of our department, we decided to reach out to Common Ground to see if we could start referring residents experiencing a non-immediate life-threatening crisis to their agency for help. Common Ground of Oakland County is the largest provider of mental health crisis services in Oakland County. They are experts in this field, and they have been helping people in crisis for more than 50 years. With the assistance and at the direction of Common Ground President and CEO, Ms. Heather Ray, the Chief Program Officer, Ms. Rosa Thomas, the Project Director, Ms. Elizabeth Kerr, and with the assistance of our own CERT volunteer and Common Ground Crisis Counselor, Ms. Rachel Ferguson, we were able to plan, organize, and implement the White Lake Township Police Department Common Ground Referral Program. Our subsequent collaboration seeks to address these very important community needs. The goals of the referral program include reducing repeat calls for service, provide thorough and specific crisis-related services to the community, identify and utilize community resources to their fullest, provide a balanced approach to mental health, domestic violence, and suicidal ideation concerns within the community, reduce societal expectations of police, and reduce departmental liability and use of force situations. The way the program works is a White Lake Township police officer responds to a call for service, and assesses the situation for a non-immediate or life-threatening mental health crisis, such as suicidal ideation, depression, domestic violence, substance abuse and overdose, those that self-harm, or crime victimization. The officer then discusses the opportunity to have mental health expert contact them directly to discuss their mental health crisis and the various resources available to that resident. The resident offers consent to the follow-up contact by the Common Ground mental health expert. The officer completes the referral form with the individual's identification and contact information and forwards the referral via email directly to Common Ground. Then a Common Ground follow-up expert contacts the individual in crisis the following day and conducts an assessment that determines the individual's needs so the appropriate services can be provided. Common Ground follows up with the resident for up to 12 months after the original referral is made to constantly reassess that individual's personal mental health needs. As a result of the collaboration with between the White Lake Township Police Department and Common Ground through our referral program, White Lake Township police officers are now given a tool they can use to assist a person experiencing a mental health crisis. The ability of your police officers to act as a bridge for those in mental health crisis is an incredible opportunity for officers to assist those individuals with potentially life-altering solutions through the very people that are better trained and equipped to assist those in mental health crisis. Because of the referral program and interaction with Common Ground, White Lake police officers have garnered a better understanding of mental health crisis, and police officers are actually seeking to provide those in crisis with long-term solutions and mental health assistance on a regular basis. The referral program, started here at the White Lake Township Police Department, has spread to several other law enforcement agencies around Oakland County, such as Auburn Hills, Ferndale, Clawson, Wolverine Lake, and the Wixom Police Departments. The success of the program has allowed Common Ground to start a pilot referral program with Henry Ford Hospital as well. Based on recent data from Common Ground, the referral program collaboration with local Oakland County police agencies, Common Ground is currently providing assistance to 141 plus individuals. Of those 141 individuals, roughly 50% of them have been referred to Common Ground mental health programs through the White Lake Township Police Department. Common Ground reports that about 70% of those individuals stay on with the voluntary program for at least 90 days. The first 90 days of follow-up with the referral is the most active. It includes Common Ground's efforts to connect people with the proper resources based on their recent crisis. Common Ground is also in the process of working with the new 988 Crisis Intervention Emergency Phone Number Program, and they are looking for a way to incorporate the original White Lake Police Department referral program into that system. On behalf of myself and Chief Keller and the White Lake Township Police Department, I would like to extend our deep gratitude to Common Ground for working with us and other law enforcement agencies around the county to improve, strengthen, and shape the manner in which police officers respond to and handle individuals experiencing a mental health crisis. Their dedication to helping people in need has provided us with the opportunity to better serve the citizens of White Lake and protect the members of the White Lake Township Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And we have a couple representatives from Common Ground here with us as well. Ms. Thomas, Ms. Kerr, and Ms. Ferguson are all here. And if you don't mind a moment, I believe Ms. Kerr would like to say a few words. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. And first of all,
Identify yourself for the.
Yeah, I'm Elizabeth Kerr, the project director for Common Ground and for this particular project, which is part of a SAMHSA grant, which is the Substance Abuse Mental Health System Administration for the federal government that provides mental health care. And this particular grant has allowed us to create this particular partnership in an effort to provide more comprehensive mental health services to individuals that are experiencing crisis. And part of that grant is to create collaborative partnerships within local communities. And White Lake has been our first collaborative and actually kind of our little pilot, I guess, for this particular grant. It's been incredibly successful. Your police officers should be highly commended, incredibly professional. The level of empathy and response has been absolutely amazing. And so we've really appreciated the partnership that we've been able to create with them and the excellent work that they have done as part of this project. I'd also just like to highlight that this particular model for providing follow-up services to individuals that are experiencing mental health crisis has been presented nationwide as part of the federal 988 crisis intervention system that will be implemented throughout the nation. In Michigan, that's called the Michigan Crisis Assessment Line. And a lot of what we've learned from this particular collaborative has been utilized to be able to create that on a statewide and also now on a national level. So that's very exciting for us and also for White Lake as well. Rosa, do you want to say anything? Rosa is our Chief of Programs at Common Ground and is the one who wrote the grant for SAMHSA and also has a lot more information about the Michigan Crisis Assessment Line.
Good evening. I'm Rosa Thomas, Chief Program Officer for Common Ground. And on behalf of Common Ground, I just have to say this project has been incredible. And it has been incredible because the collaboration, I mean, it came right on the COVID. I met with you, I think it was a Thursday, and we had to shut down on Monday. So it came just on time. And you know, we have, Common Ground has received a contract for the state of Michigan for the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, which is live now for Oakland County and the Upper Peninsula. So the follow-up processes is going to be repeated nationwide, and they are looking at a model that your fine department came to us and said, this is what we want to do. We got the money from the federal government, SAMHSA, and we hired Elizabeth to be our project director, and 70% of the referrals are from you. And that means people is getting better. People is not going to hospitals. You're not spending on having issues that we could resolve faster. and it's all thanks to the collaboration. So I had been very grateful for your police department, and we had come up with a model that may be repeating nationwide. So thank you very much. And
you.
so also the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, to let you all know, is coming with primary responders, first responders crisis line. So the police departments, EMS, and firemen could have a confidential line where they could say, I saw something and I am in crisis too. So that is coming up. We're working with every one of the police departments in the state of Michigan to get it in. And so, but the follow-up is going to be all White Lake, let me tell you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to really thank everyone for their participation in this. As you know, White Lake Township has a very, very strong community outreach program in many, many different ways. It's become kind of like just a matter of course of business. Unfortunately, the age that we live in, not as many communities are able to provide the resources for what we can provide or what we strive to provide in that level of excellence. So I would say this is a continued community policing effort and services to the community, and I commend Chief and Jeff and your department and Common Ground for moving forward with that. I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Sergeant White, congratulations on your lieutenant's exam.
Yes, sir. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Moving up the ladder there.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
When do you take the chief's exam? Yeah.
Right here, Mike.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Next item is our Huron Valley Schools. Our Superintendent, Paul Salah, who I want to tell you a little bit about Paul. I mean, as many board members know here, and maybe some of the township doesn't know, when I first came into office, I had noticed that there was a need at the school complex that they needed to have a reliable source of water for their school because they were having a variety of technical problems and glitches. And at that time in 2016, 17, I approached the school and wasn't real responsive. But then along came Paul. And somewhere Paul found a note someplace tacked to the back of the restroom door or something, I don't know. And he decided to call our office, and we made contact, and he immediately knew that there was value in pursuing this project. Since then, I'm very proud to say that we have collaboratively worked together, and we are not only going to have a new iron filtration plant that will service the north end of the township, but we will be providing high-quality drinking water to the entire school complex a year from now. So we are scheduled to start construction, I think, within the next 60 or 90 days. So I would like to personally thank you, Paul, for your insight in seeing that and collaborating with us on that project, of which, again, was something that I really wanted to push through, and I certainly appreciate that. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Colwell. So, good evening, everyone. And first and foremost, I would echo those sentiments. Really appreciate the partnership that the schools have with the township. Really have gotten to know Rick quite well over the last 3 years, and I think the partnership is very strong. The water main project is a great example of that. I'm thankful to the voters in the community who supported the bond and the sinking fund. That's how we're able to pay for our portion of that project that will allow the water main to run to the Bogey Lake campus. And I'm incredibly grateful to the township for carrying that large expense associated with the iron filtration system. I know it's not inexpensive, but it's much needed. And every citizen, including our students, deserve clean drinking water. It's a fundamental, essential component of life. I also just wanted to comment briefly on the presentation we just saw. I really appreciate Chief Keller as well. The schools have a great partnership with our local law enforcement. Detective Snow does a great job over there at Lakeland High School. And, we too, as a school district, are recognizing some of the challenges with social and emotional learning, certainly mental health. before the pandemic even occurred, we hired social workers for every one of our buildings because we were recognizing some of those challenges. And the pandemic has really exacerbated some of those issues. So I applaud the township for supporting our local police department in those efforts. I think that that's just absolutely outstanding. So I'm here this evening, let me get to why I'm actually here. So I'm here this evening just to touch on the fact that on November 2nd, we will be asking voters in the Huron Valley Schools community to consider 2 ballot proposals. One is to renew a routine non-homestead millage. It comes up once every 10 years or so. It's part of the way with which schools are funded. We depend upon the principal residence, 6 mills, the non-homestead, which is what we're talking about today specifically. And so the first question is the renewal of the non-homestead and then the restoration back to 18 mills. We're currently collecting about 17.3, I think 866 mills as a result of Headley rollback. You know, property values have continued to increase. You can't collect greater than the rate of inflation, so that mill rate has dropped over that 10-year span. So we're asking voters to consider the renewal and the restoration. This is a really boring topic, and it can be quite difficult to articulate, especially in just a few-minute presentation. So we've put together a much more entertaining 3-minute video that I've asked our good friend Sean here to share. So if you wouldn't mind tuning in, can you guys? Oh, you can see that. Okay, fantastic. So 3 minutes, and I'll be right back.
Yes.
We know that the issue of your taxes is an important one. HVS would never assume otherwise. We also know that if you're bored watching this video, you will not pay attention. You know what's not boring? Mascots. Mascots are actually the opposite of boring. It's not often that mascots will speak up, but I know a few of them, and they've decided to make an exception for this one time.
Hey, I'd like to talk to you, but let me score this touchdown first. Howdy, friends. On November 2nd, voters within the Huron Valley School District will be asked to decide on 2 measures, one to restore and one to renew the 18 mills on non-homestead property, which applies only to businesses, rental properties, and vacation homes.
So that means if you own only 1 home in our school district, this does not affect your property taxes at all. Zip, 0, nil, nada.
Michigan schools are required to seek approval from voters approximately every 10 years for their non-homestead millages. The state of Michigan, you know, it's shaped like a midden, expects us to levy 18 mills on non-homestead property. Again, that means it does not apply to the house you live in most of the time. It does apply to the businesses and second homes.
The funds generated by the non-homestead millage pay for buses and the fuel to run them, utilities like gas and electricity, employee salaries, including bus drivers, custodians, and food service staff, as well as books and other supplies.
So, y'all, what happens if voters don't approve the millage? HVS would lose more than $10 million in funding. That's about 11% of all the money we get, and that's a lot.
Yes, that's quite a bit. So, we're asking you to remember to vote on Tuesday, November 2nd, or earlier by absentee ballot.
Remember, whether you're a maverick
Or an eagle, please vote on Tuesday, November 2nd, on Huron Valley Schools non-homestead millage.
HVS, the kids are counting on you.
That was good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so we really wanted to come up with a way to articulate the points associated with a non-homestead millage without putting people to sleep. It's much more exciting than watching me as a talking head. You should see the blooper reels. They're quite enjoyable. And I can guarantee you on Friday when Lakeland plays Milford, they won't be hugging it out on the football field. So the key points associated, obviously, with the non-homestead millage, it doesn't affect the principal residence owner. This is not a tax increase. This is a routine millage that is used to provide just the day-to-day operational revenue that the school district utilizes to provide and deliver education to our students. If we were not to pass this millage, it's roughly $10.5 million or 11% of our total budget. We receive about $8,700 to educate a child in Huron Valley schools. That number would drop down to about $7,600, and it would be insurmountable to try to fathom how we would come up with that sort of a revenue loss. Just to give you some context, our total savings account at the end of last year was about $5.5 million. Our payroll on every 2 weeks is about $5 million. So to lose $10.5 million in a year would be extraordinary. So do you have any questions for me? I know you have a lengthy agenda here. I don't want to keep you any longer than needed. But if there are questions you think that the community is wondering about, I'm happy to address those questions.
Any questions from the board at this time? We know where to find you.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
And again, I appreciate the partnership and appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks for being
Appreciate
here.
it.
Have a great evening.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along, old business, this would be, this would be an extension of the commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate C2016-015A, more commonly known as the Four Corners Square Flats LLC. This would also be an exemption for the vacant parcel at that particular corner. This had come before the board last month. There was some discovery done, and at this time, I would like to call Mr. Al-Kafaji and his associate forward. If you care to come forward.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I appreciate the board's time to look at our request. And before this meeting, I have invited every member of the board to come and visit our project and see where we're at with it. And some of the board members did show up and look at the project, and I appreciate that very much. And because I thought this would give them a clear picture of what we have created here and what we have developed in a property that was up for sale for 5 years and nobody looked at it. And we chose to take a good hard look at it and move forward with the development. However, we did not anticipate what COVID has caused us. And in many different ways, it has impacted us. The stop of work and remobilization to the bottleneck supply, chain supply. I can give you a couple of examples. My brick layer came to us at the middle of the project and said, listen, we have a contract for $1.05 million. In order for us to finish this project, it's going to cost you $1.7 million. I know we have a contract. You can go and sue me, and that will take, a year or two to get to the court, and the courts were closed as well. That was one thing. Our appliances, as of last week, we got delivery of the ADA appliances because there is none in the market. The reason for our request, our loan was initiated in July 21. The construction loan was finished, and the new loan that was established in July 21. It's a 5-year note, as most of you know, that most of commercial loans are 5 years. Our debt service ratio for this loan, based on the current expenses and current taxes, property taxes, we have to be at 73% leased at $2 a foot, which means about $2,400 for a 2-bedroom. And that's what we've been trying to do. So far, we have 35 units leased. And I can assure you that every single person that walked into that door did not leave without signing a lease, because we created a beautiful product. And those of you who have visited the project have seen what we have done, from quartz countertops to underground parking, heated garages, Amazon room, which is the first in Michigan that was established, that we paid for it. So car chargers, conference room, yoga room, exercise room, we have everything. If you take this building and put it in Birmingham, it will fit right in. As a matter of fact, we have better quality than what they have in Birmingham. Our showers and bathrooms are all tile. Most of those apartments in Birmingham or Royal Oak, they're prefab showers and all that. We chose to do a first-class job over here. As of a month ago, we decided to lower our rent from $2,400 to $1,700, which brings it to about $1.43 a foot. If you go to any apartments in White Lake today, it's $1.50 to $1.59. We're offering to lease it cheaper than anybody else in the area, but we're having a problem. The problem is nobody's walking in. And if we lease it at this rate, at $1,700 a month, we have to be at 95% to meet our debt service ratio. So at the current expense and current taxes. So if we run into the 26, if the board is kind enough to give us the 3 years and get us to the 26, hopefully we can raise rent during those 5 years that is left, that we can reach our debt service ratio. By then, when the taxes goes up, our rent will be up to the $2,400 again by 2026. My banker, usually bankers don't show up to these meetings, and they have a lot of rules and regulations and internal policies where they cannot discuss any of these issues. But he chose to be here with us today from Fifth Third and to respond to any question. I know he wrote a letter to the board, and I think he had a discussion with Mr. Roman, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's here, if he can respond to any questions within the limitation he has for the regulatory and policy, internal policy they have. If he can, he will. If he can't, I guess he will tell you he can't discuss that. If you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer. We, as Four Corners, we have supported every nonprofit organization in the township. We have, as a matter of fact, Dr. Salah, who just left, for the school. I own the land next to the school, next to his school district on Milford Road. I gave them $125,000 discount because it's the school. I sold them 5 acres next to the school. We try to be good citizens. We try to do the best we can for the community. And we ask the board to help us get through this and get to where we're supposed to be. Thank you.
I had a question for you, Shocker. So you said your debt comes due in 2026,
Correct.
correct? Okay, so is it your goal then in 2026 to refinance out of the construction loan into a more conventional type loan?
Correct.
Okay.
Are you out of the construction loan now, or are you still in the construction loan?
No, our construction loan has got still 2 years, but the note has 5 years.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I just want to make a statement. I was one of those board members that was able to tour. Very high class, very, not my style, I'll be honest, I was honest with you when I met, but very high finishes, totally worthy. in my opinion, of the $1,700.
I mean, it is
Alone.
sad, we have
Very
only 35
nice.
units out of 82 units leased so far, and it's been 6 months since we started leasing. We cannot get people through the door. We have done co-op advertising with United Wholesale Mortgage, with Henry Ford Hospital, Beaumont Hospital, Providence Hospital. We've done it with Huron Valley Hospital. We've done a co-op with OCC. Even I allowed my management company to do a roommate program. So we can get 2 people in the 2-bedroom. They will have their own bedroom, their own privacy, but they share the kitchen. We have done that as well. We have reduced the rent to $1,700, as I indicated. We're trying to do everything we can to make it work. And we appreciate any help that you can give us.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr.
Just a
Roman?
comment to the rest of my board. I did speak with banker, is it Mike? Yes. Mike with Fifth Third.
Mike, why don't you walk?
What's
probably
that?
Can't hear you if you want to go up to the podium.
Introduce yourself for the record, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Schick with Fifth Third Bank.
Well, yeah, so as I said, we did speak. One of my questions was, is the program in default right now? And/or is the program being foreclosed on? And just so the board knows, the answer to both of those questions was no. We talked a little bit about the project, and I don't know that was really relevant to this decision. I advocated for lower rents, which Shocker said he's doing, and Mr. Schick, as a traditional banker, probably disagreed. But that said, I took the tour. I support the project. Beautiful place. I will let anyone know that I talked to come through. I think you should reach out to our senior center leader, Kathy Gordonier, and ask Kathy if she'd take the tour. She runs into a lot of people, Shocker. And with that, I'll let Mike speak if anyone else has questions.
Mike, is there anything you care to tell us about the dynamics of the financials?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's not a lot that I'm permitted to say through Fifth Third Bank. However, what I would say is Shocker is correct. It's unusual for their bankers to show up at these meetings other than, just as kind of a curiosity. But one of the things that's very important to us at Fifth Third Bank is client selection. Mr. Akafaji is an excellent client of the bank, and he's performed admirably through what is a very difficult time. And I will say that. So if there's any other questions, to the best of my ability, I'll answer them. But yeah.
Any questions from the board members?
I do, unless, Anthony, did you have your hand?
I was just going to say, I too went through the project several times on Planning Commission. The windows that he had selected were from Italy. We had to go down and take a look at the windows because they had to put different windows in. They weren't going to make it. I believe, quote me if I'm wrong, it was about $250,000 he lost just in those windows. That upsets the loan, upsets the project, and just with the, again, supply chain, I think, you started off at 16 million and you're at 20, correct? Of overages. So I think, at least in my perspective, I haven't seen anything in White Lake Township like this, and maybe some of the board members can tell me, a project of this magnitude. So I totally understand the financial part of it and being leased out.
And there was also several things that have plagued this particular project. We had an environmental issue that exceeded its expectation, although there was an effort made by myself and our local senator to procure some additional funds to assist in that cleanup. I know that exceeded that amount quite a bit. I also know that when this went into effect, that the planned water system that was designed and priced had to be changed because there was additional expenditures on that. That was quite a bit. Actually, some of the piping had to be taken out because the system, the contamination went further than anticipated, and therefore the DNR required, or DEQ rather, required a different type of fitting and couplings and all this stuff. So I know there was a lot of expenditure about that, and that's one of those things that not everyone knows about. nor did they see because it's there. I also know some extra measures had to be taken with the storm system. There was a variety of different things that happened, and these were all a result of the environmental issue. And then, of course, along comes the Calamity Jane of the 21st century here, which here we are 20 months later, we're at our first live meeting. This has had an effect on many, many communities and many, many businesses, and yours has not gone unscathed. So where timing is everything, in this particular case, it didn't exactly work completely to your benefit. Although the township now has a corner that it is extremely proud of, and hopefully there'll be future amenities added to that corner that will enhance it even better. So the question remains here, is there any questions, any other questions from the board, comments?
I just have a question, I have a comment. So I'll just reiterate kind of my sentiment from last month. I don't think anyone is disputing the quality of your product or your commitment to our community, and we thank you for that. I thank you for that. But I again have a really hard time conscientiously doing this for one business and not for all businesses in White Lake. Everybody suffered through COVID, and this abatement is for a plume and a toxic land only. And now I feel like it's kind of a bait and switch and being asked to be turned into COVID now. You asked us originally in, I believe, 2020, am I correct? When would we do the abatement?
The original resolution was in October of 2016.
Thank you, 2016, for 10 years then. So I feel like this is just a second swipe at what you were asking for originally, because you asked, we stretched and gave you 7, and that was really out of this board's comfort zone. And we were very clear that there would be no extension. And so you've asked us to extend and go back on our word, and I don't do that, I keep my word. So I'm a firm no. But it's certainly nothing against your commitment to our community or how lovely your property is. I empathize with you just like any business owner in White Lake and all over the country and world that are affected by COVID. I understand, but this abatement is not for COVID. This abatement was very clearly for the plume and toxicity of the land. So my only question would be, I apologize, my resolution 21-035 is not opening on my computer. So that's old business B, 9B. Is there any way to separate the property on the corner, the empty corner? That would be my question.
That is being asked as a separate item. They are two separate.
Is that B? Because
Yeah,
mine's not
they're
opening,
two.
I apologize.
One's a vacant piece and the other one is going to be the apartments.
So is the first one the apartment then, 3-4? The flats?
Yeah, Four Corners Flats is the apartment. The 21034 is the flats building. The 21035 is the commercial lot on the corner that is currently vacant.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
So that's my question.
Okay,
And that concludes my comments.
very good. Mr. Roman?
No one else?
I got one. You got one to go, Scott?
Go ahead.
I think you're looking at two separate issues. You have a guy that came in, a developer came in when nobody was going to touch this property, nobody. It was contaminated, and there, Trustee Smith is right, commend her on it, but COVID came. Now, if you're a drive-through restaurant, like a friend of mine owns multiple Culvers, he reduced his staff, he did $1 million in sales over in that Culvers. My brother's UPS store, they went up in sales because people were sitting home. So some businesses benefited, others did not, construction-wise, supply chain. I see it as a huge investment in our township. I think you got two separate, I would not be for this, I'm going to say it on the record, if we didn't have a pandemic in the last 100 years. And I know what bank loans are, being involved in them myself. I know you have at least a 60% absorption rate to get those leased out to be able to change that loan. So I think it's fair to say that, yeah, when he came in here originally, it was 7 years, but our life constantly changes, and this is, a situation in my estimation. So I'm for it, and I support it because I know what Mr. Akapaji's been through, being on the Planning Commission at the tail end. I think he's a longtime partner in this community, invested a lot of time and money. I commend him for it.
Mr. Roman?
Yeah, so, just so everyone knows, so the abatement currently goes through 2023, which means that the tax increase, as the abatement drops off, those taxes don't come due until 2024, summer. That bill goes out in July. Those taxes are due without interest, September 14th of 2024. You've got almost 3 years left, shocker, for the abatement to stay in place. And just so the rest of the board knows, we can revisit this issue in 2022 and/or in 2023. I support your project. It was a great tour. From what you're telling us, you don't need to refinance until 2026. I don't support the extension at this point, but I will keep an open mind next year and in 2023, depending on what happens with everything.
Okay, very good. Mr. Ruggles?
Yeah, I was, the applicant reached out to me and asked if I would come for the tour. I apologize for not being able to attend the tour. I feel like I've been part of this development since the beginning. It's been a number of years. We started with Randy, right? Randy's not here. Randy had a pretty well-defined skill of asking this board and receiving the things that he wanted. You know, I was trying to add up how many requests in the name of this project that he brought before us, but I couldn't get to the end of it. I love your project. I'm you know, the corner is very, very much improved. I know you've been through a number of setbacks, financial setbacks, pollution setbacks, unexpected dry cleaner pollution setbacks. And I can relate to that. But what we're talking about as far as this rehab exemption is directly tied to that pollution, you know. And so when we talk about COVID, everything you said I agree with. I can relate to it. I understand what you're saying. But nobody else in our township, any other township, would be able to get the kind of financial relief that you're requesting just because of COVID, you know. So this exemption directly tied to the pollution issue. I remember it quite well, and I remember asking for the language to be added to not extend it for another 3 years. And I still agree with that statement. So you know, that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm not opposed to, you know, understanding that obviously you've had a financial impact that's enormous, but I don't know if extending this exemption just for your project and not helping anybody else in the township would be fair and equitable. So, like I said, it's nothing personal, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad you're in White Lake. I just am not in favor of extending the exemption. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? Questions?
Just real quick, Shocker, I know Janine, our assessor, has specific reporting responsibilities with this abatement. And in chatting with her today, I'd like, Janine, if you can just let Shocker know a little bit about the information that you haven't been able to get that's like due, I think it was due the 15th.
Which I did send information out several times. Still haven't received what I need, and it was due last Friday. The state is pretty strict on their deadline. I provided her with the information that I found.
They're supposed to give you probably within a day or two. They get all the employees' numbers and from some Hortons and everybody else.
Unfortunately, we should get that. It's as of December 31st of the previous year. I mean,
So what they did it at the page, and they did it the wrong way, and you asked them to correct it, and that's what they worked on.
I was provided, the information was provided to me.
Janine, you're going to have to speak up. We can't hear you.
Sorry. The information was provided to me at 20 minutes to 5 on Friday, and it was the wrong.
Do you want to go up to the microphone? We're
The
still
podium?
getting.
Yeah, 'cause we can't. I can tell they can't hear you.
My voice doesn't carry.
Okay, so some information was provided to me last Friday at 20 minutes to 5, but it was the wrong information. It was the same information I got last year, and I told them last year it was the wrong information. The right information was never provided to me last year. it was Randy that I was dealing with last year. So then, this year, it's somebody else that provided me with the information, but she provided me with the same information that Randy did last year, that I had told Randy that was the wrong information. And I never got the information last year, so I told the state that, and their response was just do the best you can for us. Well, I don't know how many employees they have there. So basically, the only thing I could do was give them the information I had from the previous year, which was way inflated because that was back when they had all of the remediation still being done. So, and I still don't have it this year. And like I said, it's based on December 31st of the previous year. So, I mean, it seems to me if it's based on December 31st of the previous year, it seems to me I should have gotten it months ago, easily. Might even have been easier to provide it months ago.
It could have been, that information needed to be brought forth more timely. There's no question about it. But however, the state did accept it, and the state understands the circumstances.
Well, they haven't accepted anything this year. I just told
Well,
Emily
this
I
year,
don't have it.
Correct. I'm talking about last year.
Yeah.
Shocker, is Randy is he currently work for you now?
Correct.
Still does?
No, Randy's no longer with us.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you. Is he no longer with your business or company?
And I have Raquel in our office, she's working on it. She was in contact today with all the construction guys to see how many people they had at one time in the building. Each subcontractors had to submit it in writing. And we're also getting all the Tim Hortons, Taco Bell, and all these guys to submit, and Bank of America as well, to see how many they have full-time and how many part-time. And we should have it by the end of the tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Does that answer that question, hopefully?
I guess.
Okay. All right.
And just FYI, Shocker, and Janine, maybe you can clarify, but, the state that could jeopardize your whole abatement, I'm guessing, correct or not? If
Yes,
the state
the
doesn't
state
get
could
that
revoke it.
information.
They have the option to revoke it, as does the township. Not that I think any of you want to do that, I'm just saying it is an option of the state or the township to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really important to get that info in.
We will have it for sure tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, very important. Okay, thank you, Janine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
So are we going to talk about the vacant land separate?
Well, it's,
Because I do support extending the vacant land.
Okay.
Because there's nothing there now.
It's a separate resolution, right?
Yeah, so we should
It's a
close
separate
out.
resolution.
Was that in the district? Because remember, this is a two-step process.
Yes, it's in the district. That's a large district, and it goes all the way over to Williams Lake Road. So it is a large district. That was part of what we did to accommodate other communities, other potential investors and development within that area for redevelopment. Yes, Mr. Al-Kafaji.
She wants to know if you can open the.
So I know I've heard
Oh, you do have B&A
that
right here.
COVID has affected everybody, which I agree with. But how many projects do we have that is in the $20 million that was stopped from working, lost most of the subcontractors, unanticipated, and most of the businesses got PPP help, they got SBA loans help at no interest for 30 years, they got all kind of help from state and federal government. We got zero from anybody. We had nothing from anyone. And I understand, Mike, you're saying that we have until 2023, but our note today,
26.
our note today with the 35 units leased, we are out of that service ratio today. And we trying, as I said, we went to 1,700 from 2,400. We're renting cheaper than anybody else in the township, cheaper than those old apartments everywhere else. And we cannot get people in the door. And those of you who visited the apartments spoke to the management company, and they gave you the exact picture of where we are. We have tried every marketing. We are on social media. We are on apartment.com. If you go to apartment.com, we pop in #1 because we pay $7,000 a month to be #1 on apartments.com. We're trying everything we can.
Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may.
That being said, I would like,
Liz is trying to say something.
I beg your pardon. I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
Trustee Smith.
Thank you for your comments, but I just want to remind the board that last month, your attorney, Mr. Bone, mentioned that you were only shut down for 1 month due to COVID.
You guys speak in.
Does my microphone work?
They were closed for more than a month, Liz.
I'm just saying that's what he told us.
No, that project, you could ask Nick in the building department, that project was shut down for a long time.
I'm just telling what your attorney reported to us last
He
month.
may have misspoke.
Okay. He's not here to speak for, to correct that, unfortunately. So that was information that I was given last month. And then, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. I apologize. 1 second. So I don't know what I was going to say. So sorry. I think I was just going to go along the lines with, we heard that last month, and we also asked for, that's what I was going to say, we also asked for your financials, and none of that was provided, the letter from the banker, and thank you for being here this evening, I appreciate your time. But we did ask for some more information to help us support your, supportive documentation, and we didn't receive that either. So I just want to.
Well, if you remember last month, it was agreed upon that Mr. Roman was going to act on the board's behalf and look into that information because the information was proprietary and was not
I
necessarily
do remember that he
to
didn't
be
want to give it,
disclosed to
but
all.
it didn't mean we
what
didn't
I was,
ask.
what I was given the task to do is to contact the banker and speak with the banker. I wasn't tasked with getting personal information with Shocker, so just FYI.
Okay.
And I invite any member of the board to come and see our books and records. We're open, but I don't want to, make it public record. And as Michael said from Fifth Third, they don't come at 7 o'clock at night unless there's something here that the board should take note of.
They were shut down more than just a month because we had a fire, if you remember, if you read through the police letters, but there was a fire that the building wasn't buttoned up, the windows weren't in, so a homeless person went in there and lit the place on fire, and that thing could have went down to the ground. So it was our suggestion, Rick's suggestion in the building to get the windows in as fast as possible, secure it. Our police department did find it useful, and then recently they just met with them, but there was months because the trades were not working during that time. And if you've driven around the township, I know it was a year ago, but no one was working. I mean, it went for 2-3 months.
Yeah, the governor, I
I
forget.
remember the project was slow before COVID, and I do recall the windows being discussed.
And the governor, she shut down, the certain types of
I
restrictions.
forgot how many weeks we were out
But
of.
construction was hit hard.
Right.
Construction workers, laborers, but you remember the boat incident, you couldn't take a motorboat, but you could take a sailboat out. I mean, it was all over the board, but construction was hit really hard. And again, that's why I see the need for this, because, if COVID went ahead, it would be tough luck for him.
Right, but this abatement's not about COVID. This abatement is about a plume.
Yeah, but there's a scenario that happened that's what I'm going to stick with, that's never happened. It's COVID. And if you're in the building business, like a lot of subdivisions, it's volatile, and it was very volatile during that time. I mean, $6 million, I'm sure he didn't expect to go $6 million. Nobody would. I mean, it's devastating.
Right, but it's been devastating to all White Lake, all of Michigan, all of
Okay,
everybody.
let's take this, and I will take at this time and put before this board a motion to approve Resolution 21-034, extension of commercial rehabilitation exemption, even though this board at one time made an exception to extend, that exemption be overridden as this board has the authority to do so. That is in the form of a motion. Looking for support.
Support.
I have motion, I have support. Roll call vote, please.
Clerk Noble, yes. Supervisor Kowal,
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee, or Treasurer Roman,
I'm a no.
Trustee Smith,
No?
and Trustee Ruggles.
No.
Motion fails. Okay. Moving on to the extension of the commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate C2016-015, which is the vacant parcel. I also make that in the form of a motion, and again, extenuating circumstances beyond this are allowing this board to reverse its decision for that particular parcel. That is in a motion. Looking for support?
Support.
I have motion, I have support. Roll call vote.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yes. It's
Have
a
you
separate
checked with the
parcel.
state, though?
It's a separate parcel.
I just want to make sure you've checked.
My
with-
understanding.
It's a separate parcel.
Yeah.
Because they renamed the apartments and added the flats name, it's actually on a separate, it's part of the same certificate, but it's separated at the state level because it's, because we added the name flats.
My understanding is we
Asking if
can.
we can separate, actually what the state will do, if this one gets approved, they will now separate this one from the other two that it's connected to. I've already talked to the state. They'll just separate this one if it gets approved for another 3 from the other 2 parcels.
Okay, I wasn't,
It is doable.
I just wanted to make sure that you've looked into it and it was,
Emily at the state takes care of this. She's very good at her job. I did help her.
I didn't know either, but I think it fails.
And what they do is they separate the flats. Because they
Doesn't
added
hear it.
the
No,
flats.
Jordan.
They can separate this parcel if it gets approved from the other 2 parcels.
so in line with that discussion, Treasurer Roman talked about potentially considering extending all of it next year. If they're separated out today and one is extended, what happens as far as the extension of the others? Are you following what I'm saying?
Yes.
I don't think he was talking about the other 2, because the other 2 are fully occupied and.
No, this only pertain, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
I have the floor. It only pertains to the flats and the vacant lot at the corner. They're 2 separate items. They can be addressed separately. The vacant lot at the corner, if it has an extension, it becomes its own separate animal, its own entity. Therefore, is not affected by any decision that potentially could be made next year or in the future regarding the flats. It is completely a separate item. That is how I understand this to be.
That's correct.
Agreed?
And that's how Emily explained it to me.
Correct.
What they do is they give it, they like create a separate, not a separate parcel.
It's like a separate certificate for that particular piece of land.
Like they did,
Correct.
they had to do that for the flats because they added new flats.
Correct. As the Taco Bell has its own certificate, and the Tim Horton,
Actually, Taco Bell
and the Tim Horton, they're together, aren't they?
and this vacant parcel is all.
Are they all together? Okay, but they would be separated out.
They'll separate out.
Right.
If you approve this, they'll separate this out.
Correct, which would be,
The vacant parcel.
which would be done for the vacant parcel.
Emily explained it.
Okay. Are you satisfied with that, counsel?
I don't know if you can hear me or see me, so I apologize. Lisa, I have a question for you. Can we table this till next month so that we could get some clear documentation on that and more of an understanding, and the board members could all, read that and understand? 'Cause-
I spoke with Emily too, and she said exactly what Janine said, is it was part of the flats and part of Taco Bell, but it's a separate parcel in itself, separated from, like if we did it tonight, let's say the motion was to separate the vacant piece and give them the extension of the vacant piece, that would be its own piece, correct, Janine?
It already has
It
its own
already has it, so
identification.
it's already got its own certificate, per se. So I spoke in detail with her. So what you would be doing is you'd be separating that away from Taco Bell in the strip mall. So it'd be its own vacant piece entity, which would be given relief if that was the board's decision on that vacant piece. The apartments would remain separate too. So you have the two that are before you in your packet. And that's what I think you were going to say, Treasurer Roman?
I don't think that, I think it'd be wise of this board to have, actual documentation and all of us have a chance to read it and digest that and be sure. I don't think there's a time limit, correct, on separating this?
There isn't a time limit, but the state only hears, they only look at these type of October is when.
It'd be another year.
Yeah, it's when the information is due to them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna make any changes.
Okay, so even separating this out has to be by the end of this month?
Otherwise, they won't consider it until next October.
Okay, thank you.
You fine? Okay. All right, I'll go back to making my motion.
You made it and it was seconded.
I made my motion, thank you. And it was seconded, so roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Kowa,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles,
Yes.
Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries on your corner parcel. You have your extension, okay? You have the right to come back and
Next
petition
October.
this board next year. Don't wait till October.
That was a joke, Jane. We've had a lot of conversation.
Don't wait till October.
So do we have the right to come to the board next year?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. You
so-
have that right
So we're granting the 3 years on the vacant
on the
piece.
vacant parcel.
You can come back in October, or before October, sorry, I keep saying October, stuck on October.
July.
What we do ask is absolutely correct that I know that you, Randy, is severed from your business. So you're restructuring that, and it would be most appreciated in her area if you can get that tomorrow. Or no later than the day after that, it'd be great.
We need this information. It's pertinent.
And we don't want to see you get jammed up at the state level.
Yeah, because that'll be beyond our
Thanks,
control.
Chuck.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thanks for
gentlemen.
coming out.
Okay, next item, we are going to have a public hearing to comment and confirm the assessment roll for Coaldale Bay Aquatic Weed Control Special Assessment. I therefore make a motion to open the public hearing on the confirmation for the assessment roll for Coaldale Bay Aquatic Weed Control Special Assessment. That is in the form of a motion, looking for support.
Support.
That's a support. Don't need a roll call vote in public. No, yes, no, I can't
You should for
remember.
public hearings, yes.
Okay, we'll do the roll call vote. I couldn't remember. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Excuse me. Supervisor Kowa.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay, this time, anyone has any comment or questions or comment, because of the public hearing, on the Coaldale Bay Aquatic Weed Control Special Assessment, come forward now. Seeing as there is none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
I have motion, I have support.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, let's just do it that
Trustee
way.
Voorhees.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Supervisor Kowa.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Thank you. With that being said, I would like to pass Resolution 21-038. Can I entertain a motion from someone? Mr. Ruggles.
Sure. I'll make a motion to pass resolution 21-038.
It's looking for support.
I'll support that.
There's support from Andrew Voorhees. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Request to approve a fireworks permit, Lakeland High School.
Make a motion.
Make a motion, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the fireworks permit for Lakeland High School.
Support.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Item D, request Township Board to authorize litigation against 10111 Jonah K. This is, I'll let Mr. O'Neill touch on this very briefly because of the absence of our ordinance officer.
Sure. This has been, I guess, an ongoing issue since the summer. I believe the ordinance officer sent a notice to the homeowner on the 15th of July, which began the process of ordinance enforcement. There have been a couple of different conversations, and the owner is refusing to acknowledge the requirement of, I should say, the ordinance requirements that would prohibit his gating of a public road. And so at this point, seems like we're left with this option. Hopefully between now and an actual courtroom, a resolution can be reached because it's simply removing a gate and some hardware from a pole, out on a public road. So it's really pretty straightforward, and it's pretty unfortunate that it's come to this point. But it is before you today. There's a memo from the supervisor dated October 12th. You'll see, I don't know if you have the original letter from the ordinance officer, but again, that was July 15th of 2021 that a violation letter was first sent, giving the owner 10 days to remove the gate. So.
Thank you, Mr. O'Neill. Any questions from the board at this time?
When did he get notice to remove the gate?
July 15th of 2021.
And still up?
So, yes. So it's been over 3 months now.
Can't just go take it down.
It'd be cheaper.
Yeah.
Well, and it's actually in the county road right-of-way, but they're not going to do
County
anything.
won't do anything?
Right, no, they're going to let us spend a bunch of money and take them to court. But, yeah, so it's, and not only, not only is he not taking it down, he and his attorney are refusing to do so. So they're
reinforcing it.
Well, their position is that it's on their driveway and it's not on a public road, and that's the dispute. It will end up being that's what it will come down to.
Do you know what the answer is?
It is on a public road.
Yeah.
The county agrees it is on a public road. It appears because it's a dead end that it is his driveway. It could appear that that's the case, but it is not. And the neighbors began complaining about it, and that's how we became aware. And that's when enforcement action ensued.
Okay.
He does have a lawyer, so if you authorize suit today, we're not going to go into court next week. We will reach out to the lawyer, let them know that litigation has been authorized, and we'll see if that prompts any sort of resolution before a lawsuit is filed.
I appreciate that.
And as always, that is our preference. We don't want to drag this out. We just need it to be corrected.
So what I'm looking for, I will make the motion. I would like to make a motion that we be allowed to move forward with this particular legal action, and that the board allow the supervisor to sign whatever necessary documents to pursue this action. Looking for support?
Support.
I have support from Mr. Roman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None? Thank you. Next item is pretty much a textbook MDOT requirement. Whenever we work in the road right-of-way, we do this annually. So it is a permit to construct, operate, and/or use, maintain utilities, other facilities, or to conduct other activities on, over, and under state highway right-of-way. We are required to have this to perform work in the right-of-way within our community. We have passed this every year as such. Looking for?
I have a comment.
Yes.
Can we add Mr. O'Neill as the title and/or name? He's not included, and I think that he probably would be useful to be included.
Actually, DPS director would be the one that would do this, Aaron Potter. This would affect him more.
I see him, but does it hurt to add Mr. O'Neill?
Yes, it may cause confusion to the state because Aaron takes this very seriously. And if he didn't have a previous engagement tonight, he would be here. So this really is not in Sean's wheelhouse, so to speak.
Do you have an objection
Do
to
you have an
that?
objection to adding it?
I'm happy either way. When I get involved with MDOT, it's usually as it relates to driveways or pathways or our sign that motorists run over every other winter on M59, getting those put back up. I do that kind of stuff. So if this doesn't pertain to any of that, then I wouldn't need to be on there. If it includes that stuff, then it's really up to you guys.
My only thought is with pathways.
Well, actually, as council just pointed out to me and verified it, that indeed this is for the ability to pull a permit. Okay, so Sean would not be pulling a permit, right?
I have.
Have you
but
pulled
I
DOT permits?
I did pull one for a sign.
Oh, you did. I beg your pardon. I stand corrected.
But that happens again, only every other year when a car hits the Welcome to White Lake sign and turns it into a million toothpicks. And we gotta get it put back up.
We can add your name to this list.
I'd be honored.
Oh, then it shall be done.
I'm so honored to nominate you.
Okay. Okay, looking for a motion. Mr. Ruggles, you were going to,
Oh, well, I had a question, but she
Okay.
apparently has been reading my mind, so that's been answered.
It's great minds think alike.
I can make a motion to approve Resolution 21-036 and modify it to include Mr. Sean O'Neill to have the ability to sign said document.
Support.
motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. 10F, Mr. O'Neill,
All right, well, my
floor
computer.
is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone. I don't know if any of you received the email I sent out midday when I received Brandon Guest from MI Homes letter. This request is really straightforward, but it just because of the way it came to you may seem possibly a little convoluted, but we can hopefully clarify that tonight. So you're all very familiar with Trailside Meadow. This project is approximately 180 units on the south side of Elizabeth Lake Road. Originally, half of the products were supposed to be active adult and on the east side. The other half of, and this is not, so that would have been this area right here, the east side. It's kind of laying with north to the left. And then single-family homes, basically site condos where you own your yard, you can put up a swing set, you can put in a swimming pool, you can, cut your own grass. In general, MI Homes came back and said, listen, the active adult product, which you can see still shown kind of in a lighter shading here, isn't moving as well as we would have hoped. We're getting a lot of response from active adults who don't want to live in a true condo. They want to mow their own grass, control their own yard, and so we would like to convert the southerly half of that product, which is shown roughly right in here, back to a single-family site condo, like is the case on the west side, down here. We, of course, didn't really have an objection. The number of homes weren't going to change, so they went back for a simple amendment to, and Scott will remember this, simple amendment to the site plan at the Planning Commission. Planning Commission didn't have an issue with this and approved the modified site plan and simply recommended that the development agreement be recommended to you that the development agreement be approved, taking into account all the necessary changes to the legal documents that would need to take place in order to make this request a reality. So that's why they're here tonight. This is actually just action on the plan development agreement amendment, but there are, as you may have seen in the memo today, if you did get a chance to read Brandon's letter from today, there are a few little things that need to be ironed out that weren't really fleshed out at the Planning Commission. I don't have an objection to it. You certainly have the authority to make the decisions that are before you tonight, and I will probably let Brandon and Natalie articulate those because they'll probably do a little bit better job, being that it's their request, than I would. So if you have any questions for me right now, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would recommend we turn the floor over to them for a few moments.
Questions from the board? Proceed.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Brandon Guest. I'm the Director of Land Development with MI Homes. With me, I have Natalie Bond, our Land Acquisition Manager. And then from our engineering perspective, we have Matt Bush from Atwell, who was with you guys in 2019 when this was originally approved. As Mr. O'Neill pointed out, we're about to commence on our second and third phase of this project. Based on market factors and then the sub-market, the active adult portion is not selling with the same trajectory that the single family is. We had some internal discussions and just felt like if there was ever a time to kind of reassess, reevaluate, it was now and not when the eastern portion of this community is not being built out and the west is busting at the seams, which is where we're at now. So we wanted to come before you guys and see if we can get the PD amended now versus later. And as Sean had pointed out, there's kind of three issues or substantive issue or items that go with this alteration. The first is the alteration from, modification from a straight condominium where you have common elements and you have, you don't really have lot lines, you don't have lots per se, to the remainder of those lots being single family. There's also certain landscaping requirements that were agreed to during the original conversations that affected the foundation plantings in the condo units that we're speaking to in different common areas now. So they are going to be taken in account for, but it's really moved the landscaping plan, and we've had to work through that with both staff and consultants, so that's an ongoing process. And then the third is, part of the original agreement was a lot coverage of the site condo units of up to 25%. And when you add lot lines and going to the site condo, there are some lots where we would exceed that 25% if we kept an active adult architectural style, which we want to still do to give prospective residents of White Lake the best options, the most options possible. So those are the three items. I'm not sure if you guys had an opportunity to kind of look a little more in depth with my memo. If not, we're open for questions and we can go from there.
Any questions from the board?
Yeah,
Mr. Ruggles.
I have a question. I think previously it was 27.5% green space. Is that still apply? Is that still an accurate number? Has that changed?
It changes only in the fact that the condominium has common space. Condominium units have that common space that by definition we're allowed to take into that calculation, where when it becomes a site condo, you can't consider someone's front and rear yards as part of that open space. However, the building envelopes that existed before are not being modified. So somebody who would go in before versus now would not see a different level of green space.
So the layout's the same, but the calculations changed?
That's correct.
I see. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
And the calculation is decreased, correct?
It's decreased, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. First of all, the product you have there is very nice. You've done a very, very nice job on putting everything together. The common spaces are great. The exercise area is outstanding. I think it's only an asset to the community. And I understand, as before us tonight, we had circumstances where the environment, the business environment changes. Your environment has changed a little bit as well. What you've predicted to happen, that crystal ball gets a little foggy every now and then, okay? So I can appreciate that, and the level of care for the site, we get minimum complaints. Mr. O'Neill, you don't get too many off-site complaints of that, or any mud tracking or anything like that?
I mean, every project has a couple complaints, but they're very receptive when we do call them. I mean, the biggest, I guess, batch of complaints come in when you clear a large wooded area and then you start running heavy machinery, adjacent to those property lines because the noise, the vibration, seeing of daylight through what was a forest before, I mean, it always brings out the phone calls.
Right.
So-
It's just a change.
Right.
Yeah. I have no problem personally with the changes that you're requiring. Again, it's an asset to the community. I think you've done a great job over there, and if your density really isn't going to change, you're just kind of reshuffling the deck a little bit. I know there may be some additional landscape items, and what I'd like to do is, if there are any other questions from the board this time?
Just one out of curiosity. You're not really into ranch homes? Is that something that you don't feel like there's a strong market for that?
The proof at the moment is in the pudding. We're just not getting the traffic, similar to what he said. In the ranch homes, if you were to go there MI Homes feels strongly about speccing in units to try to capture the market who's more ready to move into a finished unit. So we do have those under construction. We are leaving the Phase 1 active adult as it is. There's no modifications there. But we do want to offer a plan in that portfolio that would allow the first floor master. That's kind of the biggest difference between your standard single-family colonial and your ranch unit is the first floor master. So that we do want to offer that, but to offer that is where we ask for sort of that variance in a finite amount of units.
Okay.
So will you offer any ranches ever? Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We stipulated in the agreement that was submitted for review is up to 25% of the remaining units. We would like to have the option to go up to from 25 to 32%, because that's what our ranch option would that's what the lot coverage would be.
Okay, thank you.
If I could clarify, so 25% of the remaining lots can go from 25% lot coverage to 32% lot coverage, just to clarify. So there are, I believe, 51 remaining units in this phase, in the coming phases?
There's 51 of what was proposed to be active adult, and there was 60 single-family, equaling 111 total units. And we're asking for a 25% of that total number as up to that number for the ranch, to be ranch units.
I understand, thank
So
you.
you're looking at about 40 houses.
Well, I want to nail the, and the reason I ask is I want to nail the number down tonight. So regardless of your decision, I have that number because I think it's important for our office and for building to know.
So what was the total number between the two?
111.
111 plus?
No, total.
111 total. So
That's
you're
correct.
asking for 25% of that?
Yes, which equals 39 units.
So 39 units.
But
It does not equal 39 units.
Not, that would be, no, that'd be 39%,
No.
not 25%.
25% of 111 is more like.
Like 27.
Yeah.
Or 28.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry, I added two boxes together. I apologize. 27.
27.
One of the, yes.
So I guess what I'm saying is if you are okay with allowing 27 of the units in phases 2 and 3,
Mr. Rose,
then
27 would be the number of units that would be increased to the higher.
If you did the full 25%.
That's correct.
But so far, he's just asked for the allowance up to 25%.
Correct.
right?
up to
Yes.
the allowance.
And Sean's asking for a real number.
And so if that's the number, then I would like to identify the lots on which, and I don't know if this is possible, the lots on which this would occur so we can have
I
some
think
sort
that
of
needs to be done administratively.
And I'm happy to
Okay.
do that and work that out with them, but, your motion may want to reflect that, so
Why
it's
do you
clear.
need to know which lots?
I'm just saying, like, we've got to track which lots are now over 25% and which aren't, and,
They can't just report it in later? Like, hey, we did this?
well, we can make them maybe pinky swear. I don't know. I'm just, it may help us, and if you would support us just devising some sort of a method to track these, that would be fine.
And the percentage of lot coverage goes to 32%?
That's correct.
A maximum of.
Yes. And for the record, Mr. O'Neill, just so you know, the single-family Phase 1, we have only 3 units remaining that are, so this would not be revising anything in single-family Phase 1. It would simply be moving all the lots that we are looking to develop and are currently developing, putting on the ground, moving forward. This wouldn't be retroactively to Phase 1.
The one thing I want to point out again is that the lot numbers aren't going up, which is why I don't really object to this. And they're still going to meet the setback requirements, in particular the side yard setbacks, which are a real sticking point for me. So there'll be 10 feet on each side, resulting in 20 feet between structures.
And we know what a stickler you are.
I can be.
Okay.
And so I wanted to point those things out for the record. The one thing I also don't think that we can or need to resolve tonight, if you're comfortable with it, is the modification to the overall landscape plan. When the active adult product went away on the east side, there were quite a number of plants that were going to be part of their foundation landscape plan. It was pretty robust. And as would be the case in most kind of true condos, and as is the case in most single-family developments, that's very scaled back. They let people, they plant some street trees, have some basic requirements for people who come in and have the ability to landscape their own private yard. So what I'm asking you to do is also, if you're going to move ahead with this, please have your motion, if you would, be willing to reflect that, at the staff level, we could administratively work out the modifications to this landscape plan, because our thought and our goal with MI is to take the foundation plantings, convert maybe shrubs that aren't going to do much in the way of screening into trees. Come up with a formula that says, okay, 5 shrubs equal 1 tree, and then go to the perimeter of this site where there are existing neighbors who may have been impacted by tree clearing, and really supplement the remaining trees with these new plantings. So we're going to take them out of the core of this development and bring them around kind of the perimeter to help buffer.
I've got just
them.
what you're looking for,
Well,
right
that
here.
sounds great.
Okay. I'm going to make a motion to allow the amendment to the agreement for additional 27 lots allowed to coverage up to 32% of lot coverage, and allow administrative review of the lot process, selection, and landscaping adjustments.
Did you mention 25%?
I said 27 lots.
27 lots.
Specifically.
Okay.
Up to 30.
And I would just possibly, if you would be
Up
willing.
to 32%.
Lot coverage, okay, if you would reference,
That's in the amendment.
what?
These modifications, they're in the amendment. So once they approve the amendment, they're approving those.
I'm just calling it
Right,
out.
we're clarifying that, and, yeah, and we'll
calling it
obviously
out for
add
the
the new
record.
landscape, the administrative landscape sheet will be added as an
Correct.
exhibit. I mean, Lisa and Mike and
Got
I
all
will.
that over there?
Motion to allow amendment, adjustment, additional 27 lots allowed to convert to 32% lot coverage, allow administrative review of lots and selection, or selection of lots, excuse me, and landscape adjustments required.
And that's administrative too.
That's what I said, administrative. Just 3
Making
times.
sure, just making sure I can keep up with you.
That's what COVID does to you, okay? Okay, that is in the form of a motion. Looking for support.
I'll support it.
A motion I support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
How many do you have sold so far?
There's always one question that, honestly, I don't know the number of the, we deal with land and dirt.
Roughly.
Yeah, we don't.
Roughly,
have
I
some
would
sold
say, we have
At least 30.
between 40 and 50.
Yeah.
Because we're moving into, we've got them all in phase 1.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. In a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Okay, item test 10G, first reading of addition to the administrative policies, procedures, communication to the board, and proclamations and tributes by the Township Board. Upon consulting our attorney and working with the office, the following has come up. Well, I can't get that out. Communication to the Board of Trustees, the Supervisor's Office will notify the Township Board of all appropriate community invitations or communications in a timely manner. And under proclamations 2.4J, I believe, proclamations and tributes by the Township Board. Board members will be given the opportunity to sign proclamations or tributes that will be presented on behalf of the Township Board. Board members will be notified of the deadline of which he or she must sign the document to ensure the proclamation or tribute is ready for timely presentation. A board member who fails to meet the deadline waives his or her right to sign the document. Questions or comments from the board?
Are we doing the stamp?
I beg your pardon?
Are we doing the stamp?
I don't think the clerk's office was comfortable with the stamp, because you see, you could sign for a new car and stamp your name on. Of course, you could swing it, so we wouldn't. I could use a new tractor, okay? All right.
So no stamps.
So no stamp,
So
okay?
there's not gonna be a stamp thing,
All
it's
right.
gonna be all or nothing?
No stamp.
But if we can't make it in, then what kind
It's
of?
going to be a deadline,
Right.
and if you don't make the deadline, then
Your name isn't
your
on
name
it.
won't be up
So
here.
this
on it.
won't be signed on the paperwork?
won't.
or-
Your name won't appear.
Won't
What if
appear.
the stamp
okay,
was
okay.
pre-made, like 4 layers, like all names together?
Oh, stop it.
It's too hard.
Like already with the line, boom. all
No,
4.
because I want to sign. Okay, I want that option to sign. So, Any other questions?
No,
I would like to
I'd love to make a motion.
make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend our township administrative policies and procedures to add 2.4I and 2.4J.
Looking for support?
I'll support that as a first reading.
No, there's no first
That was
reading.
no first reading. It just gets amended.
Oh, it's his first
I
reading.
That was
there was a mistake.
That's a misprint.
This is
Well, I'll
not an
support it
ordinance.
as is then.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Discussion regarding potentially 2 additional pan-tilt cameras to the annex boardroom. As you can see, Ken is perched in a fairly decent position. How is your pan of vision, field of vision, all the other good things there?
It's not bad, kind of clipping it.
Okay, you can't hear yourself. Yeah, I can't hear myself.
Yeah, state your name for the record.
Good evening, Board. My name is Ken Melbourne from Merge Live. It's great to see everybody in person, by the way. Yeah, as you can see, that's kind of the best position for those cameras. The discussion that we've been having is, okay, I'm kind of in the way of the audience, so does it make more sense to get a couple more of the cameras that you have above your head right there, which is called a PTZ, which stands for Pan Tilt Zoom, and have them mounted in the ceiling above the location that I'm at right now. We have this at other communities, as you know, Sean, and it works quite well. It gets my equipment out of the way. Actually, you can see that we ran a bunch of cords tonight. We wouldn't want to do that every night. It is pretty labor intensive. It would do away with that also. So all of those items would end up in that, I guess we could call it a control room.
Yeah. So we originally put the proposal forth. Ken came out and assisted us in this, and then as the practicalities of the site and the actual physical limitations, it's a much larger space, obviously, than our other room by a long shot. However, there are still some restrictions. You're looking at about $6,800, so about a $7,000 expenditure. Can be paid for by PEG funds, which that money is there and is available, and is for those type of purposes. So instead of just making an arbitrary decision, I thought I would bring it to the board and see what your thoughts were. Questions, comments?
And those cameras will be placed where again, Ken?
Right above where I'm at right now.
Okay,
So
so
just
then,
straight up, well, probably offset from the vent a
Basic
little bit,
spine.
yeah.
and then you'll be in the control room.
And then I'll be in there, yeah.
That's what that's what I was thinking, okay.
I still have to figure out a way to kind of get everybody's attention to speak into the microphone or
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
speak louder.
And again, I'll assure the board members that this technology is mobile. So we move into our new facility, we can take it with us.
What's your plan in this room here? You're moving everything from there to here?
Yes. This will become the full-blown boardroom. We just don't have enough adequate space in there, and that room will become more of a training and be continued to be used for some association meetings and things of that sort.
What's the difference in capacity? What's this room?
This is, you would have to ask me that. I believe the other room is only like 75 or 80. This is like over 130, 140.
Chief, what is
Chief
it?
probably knows.
What is it, Chief?
I don't know, I have to remeasure it. I think I have units your office.
Yeah, I have it. I just
3 or
can't
4
cite it off the top of my head, but it's a significantly difference
Yeah.
in capacity.
Just seems like the shape is, difficult to maneuver around.
This is much more open room. Okay, so that being said,
I just have a quick question. Would you prefer that we wait until the council comes in to try anything else out, that you can see us or hear us better until we move everything here?
I think based on that location, that would be good. I mean, we wouldn't have to worry about because I don't think that if we replace the tables with a different kind of arrangement, it's not really going to change my focal point. I'm able to grab it from that point right there. The only tricky part is that pole. So I'm having to kind of maneuver around that pole. But that pole puts me right at the edge of the table, so we're not going to be any farther out than that. So I don't see it changing much if we have other tables.
I am going to have DPS investigate that further, that pole
Okay.
further. So
That would help.
that being said, Anybody have an objection if I order the equipment? It'll take some time to get it in, probably.
Yeah, unfortunately, what I'm hearing, like we've heard kind of the theme tonight, getting supplies, getting, equipment is taking some time. So, and maybe we'll luck out. We'll just, have to ask, I guess.
Okay. Questions, comments? All in favor of ordering 2 more
Does
cameras?
this money come from,
PEG funds.
it's
Yes.
important to say.
Yes, that will come from PEG funds. So anyone, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the expenditure of up to $7,000 for 2 additional cameras, coordinate with Ken and have the supervisor sign all necessary documents to move forward.
Question,
Yes,
what kind of funds?
PEG.
What does that mean?
That's
Cable.
Cable.
Oh, okay.
Public education government channel funding.
Oh, I should have known that.
Yes, you should.
I'll
You are
support
the
your,
treasurer.
I'll support your motion if no
Thank you
one
for the
has
support.
yet.
No, they haven't. Thank you, Mr. Roman. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We'll make it happen. Okay, thanks, everybody.
I agree with that, now pull it out.
All your cable providers come into it. You have a lot of money spending.
Never heard of cults.
Yeah. Okay, trustee comments. Andrea Voorhees.
Just feels weird to be back in person this night tonight. I had to change my rescheduling, my thought process of how to get here tonight. So welcome, what audience we have left. Hi, George. I just am going to do a quick historical society moment. I want to thank Barb Allison, who always feeds me these, and I apologize for bringing them off my phone. I just find them interesting, and I hope everyone else does also. Excuse me. This one's from 1978. Wet Lake Township incumbent supervisor James Reed received a scare in Tuesday's election, but managed to capture his 7th straight term as supervisor, recording a 250 margin victory over his opponent, William F. Sweeney. The unofficial vote total shows Reed winning the position by the 250 margin. Sweeney is a newcomer on the political scene, gave Reed a strong battle from the start by winning 5 of the first 7 precincts to report their totals. Reed, a 57-year-old Republican, has held the position of White Lake Supervisor since 1966. Reed's major argument for his reelection was his training experience, and his experience as White Lake Township Supervisor made him qualified. The Democrat, Sweeney, 44 years old and employed by General Motors Tech on the design staff, campaigned on what he claimed was Reed's lack of communications with the White Lake citizens. Incumbent Ferdinand Seebetter was unopposed, as was my dad, Ron Voorhees. The trustees at the time were Walt Wyman and Jane Eccles, who also had clear sailing facing their opposition. Ferdinand Friend Jr. was the sole candidate for constable. Joseph, Daniel, Rebecca Lynn Ballard are the only candidates for 3 positions on the White Lake Library, and that was from 1978. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ruggles.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I just say it's great to be here. It's nice to see all of you, especially considering what I've been through in the last few weeks, but it's nice to be here in person.
Yeah, better to be seen than viewed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, Mr. Roman.
Mr. McLeod, thanks for showing up and staying the whole meeting. Yeah, great to be back in person. There's just nothing like it. It's great to see you all in person. Just want to let you all know I made the decision last week to discontinue passport applications at the treasurer's counter. As you probably know, I lost 2 employees in 22 years of passport experience when my deputy left and when one of my front staff left back in April. Passport training is time consuming. The passport agency requires you to dot every I, cross every T, and when you don't, you hear about it. My 2 new employees, including my deputy, are still training and learning the traditional treasurer duties. And the fact that we took on G2G credit cards at the counter and online have added a whole new block of time commitment to initiate and process all of these transactions. And just for anyone that needs to know, if you do want to apply for passports, Highland Post Office is where you want to go. That's all I had, Rick.
Very good. Trustee Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. It's so great to see you all and be back together. I really am glad to be here. I'm glad everybody's in good health, and it was a great board meeting. I'll be pretty short. The library is back to regular services, so feel free to stop in the library. And then I want to just thank my colleagues for remembering to wear pink this evening and breast cancer awareness. And I want to take a quick moment here just to talk about it. How important self-exams are for women, but also men and your pets. It doesn't, it affects everybody, unfortunately. So no one thinks about that part, and I just want to take a minute to share with our residents that as women are doing those self-exams, please take a minute, men, and check your pets as well. And be safe, have a great Halloween, and see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Oh, you. Mr. Noble.
Yeah, I would like to thank the residents and thank you, Supervisor Kowal. It's great to be back in person. I am doing the Grow Your Beard Out for the month of October and probably part of November to raise money. Try to raise a few bucks for the family that Chief Keller spoke about. And this is killing me. I don't know how you do it, Sean. So.
It looks good, though.
Doesn't feel good, so. But that's it, and thank you, everybody.
All right.
Can I say something?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
I just, I didn't know to wear pink. I'm sorry, I should have known it's October. I didn't even think about it, but I didn't get a reminder.
I didn't either.
This-
I didn't get a reminder from the supervisor.
The
I
supervisor's
reminded you all
rules
last
require
month
'em.
in my trustee comments.
Oh, you did? Also, but really, I wanted to let you guys know that I was sworn in as the treasurer of the State Bar of Michigan.
Congratulations.
Awesome, congratulations.
And it is one of those positions that every year you move up. So in 5 years, I will be the president of the State Bar.
Very cool.
We are so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
At the high level. Congratulations on that achievement. Yeah. I did wear pink, okay, as many of us did around here. So the rest of you, you've got to remember what October's all about, okay? So that's one thing there. It is good to be back. It will be an adjustment for some of us. And, you know, people like Mike Powell will have to curb his traveling if he wants to remain present in the public eye, wherever you are, somewhere in Colorado, Mike. I'm sure you're out there. I hope you're having fun with your family. We've had a little bit of dumping over at the Elizabeth Lake Road house, the former Bagby house. I think it's just because it's now a little out of the way place and people like to do dumb things. So I am going to authorize the removal of all the trees on that site. So that gives us a clear line of vision and removes any potential cover for anything. So that is going to go forward. We have received competitive bids, and we will move forward with that. They don't need to come to the board because they're under the limit. So we will move forward with that. One of the things that we obviously look at this time of year is what is it we're going to do for the holidays? If we're going to consider doing a tree lighting again this year, if it's something we're going to do, how we're going to move forward with that. And we might have to have some conversation regarding that, see what direction we're going to go in. I believe that we're past the critical point, and I know some other communities are planning that event, and I would like to see us do something or a version thereof to try to get some sense of normalcy back in this community. So I look forward to some communication quickly on that. To everyone else out there, I say thank you very much for coming in tonight. This is our first official full-blown meeting in our annex facility, and we look forward to seeing you in the future and being of service to the community. With that, I'll say good night, God bless, and a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. I have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.